Loving Eliza by Ruth Nordin, Chapter 17. The next afternoon, John joined Eliza outside. She had wanted to enjoy the nice breezy day, so he found an old blanket and spread it out on the grass by the house, where she set out a basket filled with sandwiches, apples, bread, and cheese. He thought it was funny that she wanted to eat outside when the kitchen was just a few yards away, but she had peered up at him with those sweet eyes, so he'd agreed. He watched her as she fussed over their lunch and smiled. Her hair fell down in gentle waves over her shoulders, which he particularly liked. She wore a hat to protect her fair skin from the sun and had on a purple dress. If it had been up to him, she wouldn't be wearing anything at all, but she had laughed when he wrote this suggestion down. "John, if someone comes to see you, it wouldn't be good for me to be immodest." He didn't think that was going to happen, but he realized it was a small possibility that someone might show up, so he dressed as well. And now as she placed the food out on the blanket, he decided that he would surprise her. He collected a handful of yellow flowers and put them in a vase that he had made for her while she was gone. He hid the vase behind his back and approached her. She glanced up at him. "Isn't this pretty? I can't think of anything to add. Can you?" He sat next to her and showed her the vase. She gasped when she saw it and held her hands out to receive it. "You made this vase?" He smiled and nodded. He pointed to the engraved lettering that spelled out her name. When he had made the vase, he hadn't known if she was ever going to see it. But here she was, and she was finally with him for good. He edged closer to her, enjoying the way their arms touched. "This is the nicest thing anyone's ever made for me," she said, tracing the floral design with her thumb. "There's a lot of detail in it, too." She brought the flowers up to her nose and inhaled. "There isn't anything that smells as fresh and lovely as flowers, especially these." He brushed the hair off her shoulder and kissed her neck. Who cared about the way flowers smelled? He rather preferred the way that she smelled. She giggled. "John, that tickles." He loved the way she wiggled against him. "We need to eat before the food spoils. Then we can return to the house and undress." That sounded good to him. He kissed her cheek and settled back beside her. She set the vase in the middle of the blanket. "Shouldn't you sit across from me?" He shook his head and kissed her on the lips, thoroughly enjoying this activity that he had only recently discovered. In fact, he enjoyed anything as long as he could be close to her. It really didn't matter what they were doing, though he had to admit that the bedroom had a greater appeal to it. He hoped that's what she meant when she spoke of undressing. Laughing, she handed him her plate of food. "Eat up. You'll need your energy." Then she gave him a quick kiss. "There'll be more later." He took that as a yes, so he took the plate and started eating. She sighed, even as she grinned at him. "You don't need to rush. It's really a wonderful day. Don't you agree?" He slowed down and nodded. She was right. It was a nice day. "You should move your workbench and the things that you're working on back to the little house that I was staying in before I left." She took a slice of cheese and put it on her bread. "I don't need to be there anymore, and there's a lot more space there than there is in that cramped shed." In all the excitement of having her back, he had forgotten about that. He would need to finish up with the rocking chair that he'd started for Addie. He decided that he would take Eliza into town with him when he dropped it off. Since Eliza and Addie were friends, they might enjoy getting the chance to talk. Eliza swallowed her food and glanced up at the sky. "When I was a little girl, I'd close my eyes and pretend I could fly. A lot of the time, I was jealous of the birds. They seemed to be free and happy. They were always singing, so they had to be happy. Don't you think they were happy?" He smiled and picked up an apple as she continued talking as if she had never asked the question. The horrible silence was officially gone. What a relief. A horse neighed, and his gaze turned in the direction of the sound. He finished biting into the apple and resisted the urge to toss Aaron off of his property. Why did his brother have to come and bother him when he was trying to enjoy the day with his bride? Eliza quickly set down the remaining slice of bread and cheese and drank some water before she jumped up. John didn't see any other option but to follow her lead. Just as he stood up, Aaron tied his horse to the post and lumbered forward. "I guess congratulations are in order," Aaron called out, taking his hat off and wiping the sweat from his brow. "Then you heard?" Eliza asked. "Everyone's heard. It's a small town." He turned to the leather pouch attached to the saddle. "Though I must say that no one expected it." John wasn't sure what to make of that statement, so he put his arm around Eliza's shoulders and pulled her close to him. Aaron glanced their way and grinned. "You two sure do know how to surprise people." John relaxed. At least Aaron wasn't going to give them a hard time. "Here it is." His brother pulled out a silver picture frame. "Ma had set all of these aside to give to each of her sons when they married, and as the oldest, it's my responsibility to hand them out when the time is right." He looked at Eliza. "Our ma loved pictures, even if we only had 2 in the house." She took the frame and held it as if it was going to break. "Well, this is lovely. Now you two got to get your picture taken. It's one of her dying wishes. And just so you don't think that you're off the hook, there's a photographer coming to town in 1 month, so you have no excuse to get out of it." John liked that idea. He wanted a picture of Eliza, and this would suit just fine. "Well, how exciting," Eliza cheered. "Isn't this a wonderful gift, John?" John nodded and squeezed her shoulders. "Well, I don't know a woman who doesn't like pictures," Aaron told John, chuckling. "I'm going to take this into the house," Eliza said. "I'll put it next to the vase." She looked at Aaron. "John made me a wonderful vase. He really has an eye for detail. I'll be back soon." Then she darted off to the blanket, picked up the vase, and ran into the house. John found her enthusiasm infectious. Yes, it was definitely good to have her back. Aaron cleared his throat. John turned his attention back to him. "I'm not sure how to tell you this," Aaron began. John's good mood dimmed, and he frowned in response. "Troy's not happy," Aaron said. "I don't know if you're aware that he was courting Eliza." John shook his head and waved his hand. Just because Eliza went to 1 dinner engagement with him, it didn't mean they were courting. Besides, she went to get the food, not to be with Troy. She had told him all about it, and she included how ashamed she had been to use Troy like that. But that was all water under the bridge now. "You know Troy," Aaron continued, his tone serious. "He's not one to take this kind of thing sitting down, especially when it comes to you, and the way he thinks about you." John knew all too well exactly how Troy thought of him, and it gave him all the more reason to ignore his least favorite brother. "Well, don't say I didn't warn you." John grabbed Aaron's arm as the man turned to get back to his horse. He pointed at Aaron's chest. "Me? You want to know what I think of your marriage?" John nodded. Not that Aaron's opinion would change the situation, but it would be nice to get his older brother's blessing. Aaron smiled. "I'm happy for you both. It's about time you got a good woman to keep you out of trouble." He laughed, and John also chuckled, noting the joke for what it was. The only time John had ever gotten into trouble while growing up was when he was 7 and decided to cut Sean's hair. Aaron hopped up on the horse. "Enjoy the honeymoon." Then he waved and left. John sauntered back to the blanket and sat down just as Eliza came out of the house. "He's gone? Already? I didn't even have a chance to offer him something to eat or drink." John motioned for her to come over to him. When she did, he sat her down on his lap and hugged her. "Is this what being married to you is going to be like? I can't even eat without you trying to have your way with me?" John wiggled his eyebrows and tried to touch her somewhere that was more private. "Well, that's not how it's going to be, mister. I'm going to eat first. Then we can do other things." She playfully shoved his hand away and scrambled off his lap. He gave her the best wounded look he could muster. She laughed and placed the apple in his mouth. "Be a good boy. I promise you'll get dessert soon enough." Well, he was still hungry, so he supposed, just this once, he could follow her orders.